R1 that link Montreal to Tokyo, and in the middle I have Tokyo, and R2 link Tokyo to Rio here. All right, and I was able to ping from here to here. We did this last week. We did more complicated than this. I have even 3 routers last week, right? We're passing over 4 networks in all, and we were able to ping and even join the domain from this client to this server. Okay, now the problem is when I'm going to configure a DHCP here, I don't know if I have the role. I should have it. I remember I installed the role here. Okay, so we have a DHCP. Now, if I configure a scope for Rio, remember Rio is on the 40, so IP config here. Rio is in the 40, range of 40. If I configure a scope for Rio, it will not be able to receive the broadcast DHCP discovery request packet that the client send to the PDC1 under the domain, whatever. So I already have a scoop here. Yeah, so this scoop is for Montreal. I don't really need it for now, right? So I will delete it. All right. Now I'm going to create a scoop for Rio zone with the network ID of Rio. Next, I'm going to name it Rio scope. Next, and of course the range is on 40. It's /8, yeah. So we're going to take from 1 to, for example, 40 0 0 0 here. Well, even 2 2 it's going to work, by the way, because it's /8 0 0 100. Just an example with some /8 here. There's some exclusion. Yeah, I'm going to exclude the 10 first addresses, for example. Tell from 1 till 40 0 9, right? So the first available will be 10. And here we go. Let's configure scoop options separately. Nope. All right. So this is my scoop. And now we go to scoop options. And now we configure a router. So I'm going to need a default gateway. Remember, default gateway for Rio, the zone Rio, the default gateway is 40.100. There you go. See, so in Rio, the default gateway of any client that is going to be on this switch, if you want to use the routing service to go in this direction, you need to point his default gateway to 40.0.0.100. So I'm going to put that address here, 00100 add. And the DNS, that's going to be my server, of course, 172.24.101. So this is the primary domain controller where I have a DNS here. All right. So he already checked and find it. I can even add the domain name with the 015. It's glitched here. So this is a 015 here. I can type, for example, origin x.com. Apply. And here we go. Now I have some scoop options under this pool. I have some exclusion. Everything is wonderful. So let's activate the scoop. Right. So my scoop is activated, and all I need now is to turn off this to the dynamic address. And of course, it will not work. It's just showing you that it will not work because since this one become dynamic, he will send a discover request, but he will send it just inside Rio. Okay, so his discover request will never pass over Rio here. He will send discover request. He will broadcast discover request to everywhere in this switch, to everybody on the range of the 40 or whatever. And he will never find it. We will broadcast even on 55 to 55 to 55 to 55 for everything, right? And he will never find any DHCP answering because his DHCP discovery will be blocked here, right? So it will never pass over this router to go to get the IP address from the client. And here we go. So if we ipconfig, we should have a pipa now somewhere. Here we go. See, it's not working. But this originx, we already got the suffix before when we joined the domain in the other whatever, right? We can still change it, I guess, if it's not great, if he give us the ability to do it from here. Oh, come on. It's pretty laggy, but we don't have choice. I guess is the primary daemon suffix here. We can just remove it if we want, right? I'm gonna let it. So this is the 0015 that he's getting, but we already got it because we joined the domain when we were in London last week. It's cool. We were in London. It sounds like real. We were not in London, but you know what I mean, right? So when this machine was in the London scope, we already joined the domain, so the suffix was already written in there, but we can remove it. So he's not getting this from a DHCP at all. Or otherwise, if it was this 15, even the IP should work, right? But it's not working. Looks like it's not working. To make it work, I need to configure a relay agent where exactly here in this card. So this card gonna play the role of the relay, DHCP relay here, relay agent, to go to the address of the DHCP, fetch the information of the scope, and bring them back here and release the contract with the client, right? With the client machine. To do that, it's pretty easy. So I need to go to the routing in R2. Remember, it's in R2 here. We were in R2. So this is R2. So I'm going to go to R2. And I will just right click here and new routing protocol. See, in general, I will right click in new routing protocol and I will have the DHCP relay agent. So I need to add this protocol here. All right. Okay, it's not configured yet. It's still not configured. Here we go. See if I do renew whatever here, or even turn off and turn on my interface is better. So I'm gonna enable and disable this thing here. There we go, disable and enable. And you see that IP config. I'm gonna still have a pipa, but not yet because the interface is booting. Genofade. Right, but if we give it a time, here is a pipa back, right? So it didn't work. Why? Because my relay agent is not configured. Well, first of all, there's two things to configure in relay agent. First of all, we need to choose which interface is, because we are in R2 and we have two choices here. We have two interfaces, and to be able to serve the zone Rio, I need the interface of Rio here, right? So I need to choose the interface of Rio, and let's do that. Here we go. So I'm going to choose the interface Rio. Okay, now Rio gonna play the role of relay. I'm still missing something here. Who can tell me logically, just think logically, because here, if I restart again my interface, you're gonna see that he will still not get the DHCP. Who can tell me what we are missing here on the configuration? What is missing on the configuration of DHCP relay agent? I already told you like 2 minutes ago. Come on, who can help me? Come on. You see, he still got a pipa here. Still not working. What I'm missing on the DHCP relay agent. So we did it in the interface Rio, but we're still missing something. Logically, just about logic here. I know that you didn't know it when you never saw this before, but logically, who can tell me logically what this relay agent is? Default gateway? Oh, Toyesh, what default gateway? You don't what? Default gateway to who? You know what is a default gateway, right? Default gateway is we configure to a machine to be able to use a routing service somewhere. And this machine is trying to get the information of this scope and to play the role as a as DHCP in this interface to be able to give an address to this client. Here we go. Here's the 3 machines in front of you. So here's my scope. It's so far. So when this guy gonna broadcast, this machine gonna block the broadcast. This one we never receive it. So this one will catch the broadcast of this client. We have to point to DHCP. Good, Mansi. Need to configure DHCP region with the IP of DHCP server, Davinder. Good, good. Because how the hell this machine now? Okay, we said okay, DHCP agent is in New York, but how the DHCP agent know what is the information that he need to configure on behalf of this machine? He don't know this machine at all yet, right? So we need to tell him here in property. See, if I go to property, I need to tell him, hey, go and play the role on behalf of this server. You're gonna find the information in 172.24.101. So I need to give him the IP of the server. And I ask you this question because usually this is the student what they miss and they forget to do. They do everything well, they choose the right interface, and they forget to point the IP to the DHCP. Okay, so it's not enough to add the DHCP protocol. It's not enough to choose the right interface inside the DHCP protocol. You need to tell that relay agent where to go and fetch the information to distribute to the client, right? You need to point him to the real DHCP server, wherever he is. All right. So now if I'm gonna restore my card or even renew or release renew, something like that, you're gonna see that you're gonna take an IP now with whatever is in here, right? So you're gonna take an address between this without the exclusion, and he will take all these scope options configured in the machine. IP config, there you go. See, I'm just IP configuring now. There you go. He took 10 with the subnet mask. He have a default gateway, whatever. And if we do /all, we're gonna see all the rest here. This is my DNS. Where is it? There's a DNS server, and everything is cool. Did you get it? So the relay agent, we need to add the protocol first. And after that, we need to choose the interface, which interface is going to play the role of the relay agent. And after that, we need to point the relay agent interface to the IP address of wherever is the DHCP server. Okay, so 3 steps to do that. That's it. Okay, let's do it again. Now, what I'm going to do. What I'm going to do, I will just jump the switch here. So you see this guy here. I'm going to disconnect it from this switch Rio, and I will plug it in Tokyo. Okay, and I will prepare another scoop here. So we'll have another one. It's 10.0.0.1, for example, and till 10.0.0.254. I will have some exclusions here. And the default gateway here, 003, will be this interface, 10.0.0.100. And the DNS will be, of course, 006 will be the PDC IP, right? My server. And I will need to configure the DHCP relay agent here. So the relay will be here, or I can configure it here, right? So because this card can talk with the server and it can play the relay for this Tokyo zone. Okay, well, let's do that quickly. Yes, please. Question? No? I heard something. Okay. All right. So first of all, I need to prepare another scope here. So new scope. Let's call it Tokyo scope. Next. And Tokyo scope will be 10.0.0.1 till 10.0.0.100. And the exclusion will be 10.0.0.1 till 10.0.0.9, for example. Add. And next, and I will configure them manually after. There we go. Now I will have a second scope. See, now I have two scopes. I'm working in two scopes. One is 7 Rio, the other one is 7 Tokyo. And in Tokyo, I'm gonna need some scope options also. So my default gateway will be 10.0.0.100. It's R1 Tokyo, right? R1 S2. And I'm gonna need the DNS. That's gonna be the address of my server, 24.101. And also a suffix name for DNS. Here you go. Originx.com, my domain. And we click apply. There's it. So I have my scope ready. I need to turn on my scope first. So activate as my scope operational. So both are operational here. One is 7 Rio. One is 7 Tokyo. Now all I need is to change the switch in my client, right? So here is it. So I will go to a new switch here. So from Rio, I will jump to Tokyo. And of course, it will not work yet. I'm gonna have APIPA for sure. ipconfig, well, I need to release because he still have the lease for 8 days. Oh, God damn it. Why you shut down? Come on. Mood killing. It's just crashed, so I'm gonna wait till it turn off. And I will turn it on. It just crashed, sorry about that. These things happened in my machine since a couple of months now. I don't know. Need to change maybe the hard drive or something. And I will switch it to Tokyo as I said. Okay, so it's already in Tokyo here. And you're gonna see that I still have APIPA because why? Because I didn't configure the DHCP relay agent, of course. Okay. So after that, I will need to go to R1, or let's do it. So I'm gonna take an address directly when he reboot. So we need to go to R1 and right click in general and new routing protocol, and then we choose the relay agent here. Oh, my server also is shutting down. It will never end. There's something cyclic somewhere doing this shit just to torture us. Okay. I hope that my router will not boot again. So, sorry about that. It's not about the RAM or something. I'm pretty sure. See, I have enough space. My machines are here. But since, as I told you, a couple of months, my machine is having something is weird here. Something is not cool anymore. Yeah, merge again. Okay, so we're gonna wait for this dummy machine to reboot. And as I said, I was configuring here my DHCP relay agent, right? So I added the protocol. Now I need to choose the interface. Which interface it gonna be? Tokyo or Montreal? Which interface it gonna be? Tokyo or Montreal here? Come on, hey. This is kid question for 5 years old. Tokyo or Montreal? Which interface in R1? Good, Mansi, good. Come on, the others. Tokyo, Montreal? It's terrible. People are dead in these classrooms. Come on, people. Tokyo or Montreal? Is it that difficult? Hello? Okay. Now we pointed to the server. So 172.24.101. Add, and here you go. My relay agent is connected. Now I will log on as somebody. And I will need to wait for my server to reboot, of course, so my DHCP will be available. And once my DHCP will be available, it will connect directly to the DHCP. So I'm going to take an address from this one. Here's it. So he already took the 10.0011 to 55000 and 10.00.100. If I'm going to switch it back to Rio and release renew, he will take 40 something. I need to switch to Rio here, sorry. Yeah, I already did it. Okay. Here you go. So 40, see? I go back to Tokyo. Release. So slow. Yeah, still stuck there. Release, please. There we go. I released it. Now, if I renew, he will take 10 something. So you see how I'm switching between the two zones. And every time I go to the other one, I will take an IP, a dynamic IP from there automatically. Okay, still just a little slow here. We're going to give it a time. And you're going to take an address. There you go. All right. See 10.0.0.11 because I just came back to Tokyo here. All right. So the next step here, we're going to talk about the server options. Okay, so it's assign the options to all, but there's other things called scope options and the class options, and we have the user options, and we have reserved client options, etc. So if I go to my DHCP, we have something called server options right in the scope options here. See it? So if I configure something here, let's say, for example, 003 10.0.0.1 add. So refresh it. There you go. So I have here scope options, right? Scope options. Since the 003 was being configured in this one, let's delete it. Should show it. Refresh. See that I deleted it here. It was being replaced by the one of the server option. So you just take it here. Of course, it's wrong, I guess. Oh, it's 100 here. But in this one, he didn't take it because scope options have priority over server options. But what is those server options? What is those server options? Server options is when you configure something here, it will be configured to all the scopes that they don't have that configuration. Like here, see this one, he already have 003. So he kept his own configuration. But this one, since I removed his own configuration, he took what it's configured in scope options. And this is pretty cool because now, since we can work with several scopes, many of them, we need something like this. Imagine if all my machines have the same DNS. Why I will configure it here and here and here. Imagine I have, like, for example, 10 scopes or 100 scopes. And they should all be pointed to the same DNS. Like, for example, here, I'm going to put back the 003, that it's 10.0.0.100. You see now scope options disappeared. I come back to this thing. But what if I'm going to delete the DNS here? Delete. Delete the DNS here. And I know that my two scopes have exactly the same DNS. So I don't need to configure this several times, even if I have 100 scopes. I can just come here and configure option, and I will go to the DNS. And put that DNS here, 172.24.101. Add. And it will be configured everywhere there were no DNS configured already in scope options. See, I don't have any more DNS, so it took what is in the server option. Here, I don't have a DNS, it took whatever is in the server option, right? But the scope options have priority over the server options. Okay, scope options have priority over the server options. So it assigns options to all the DHCP client of this server. The scope options just of the scope. The scope options just of the scope. It assigns options to the DHCP client of this scope. Scope options override server options. So they have priority over the server options. Okay. We have something called class options, user options, or reserved options. So it assigns option to all client devices that identify themselves as member of a configured class. So we can configure a class with an ID in the network card. and class options override both. So if I have something configured in the class or user ID or what a user class, it will override both here. So it will have more priority over the others. And we can configure the class with this command. We're going to do a test quickly here. And reserved client option, it assigns options to a specific DHCP reservation. Reserved client option only apply to a device that have a DHCP reservation and override all the other configurations here. Okay, what I'm talking about is those things, policies. If I do new policy, I'm going to say, for example, user class and next. And here I can put algorithms, put some conditions. All right. So I can put some conditions and say that I need, for example, see I have vendor class, user class, MAC address of certain computers. So I can put MAC address and put the MAC address here and added it. Client identifier, and those things sometimes are just IDs of certain devices that I'm gonna have on my network. For example, imagine that I have routers 2920 and they have a certain ID inside for vendor class of all that material, or I have some printers, right? Printer with their own ID of the vendor class, right? Like the brand. It's not just the name, it's the brand of it. And what I'm going to do in that case, I will choose that class and I will configure just those machines with a certain scope options. Like as I said, for example, here if I take whatever class ID, those are by default ones. Add, if I added it, it's just to be able to click that. I can add several conditions, right? I can say this one and add another condition. So for example, those, they belong to the printers, whatever Rico printers. I will need their vendor ID first, and just the ones that they have this MAC address 112233445566, and well 6677. Yes, how many I did here? No, I'm still missing here. It's 1 2 2 3 3 4 4 5 5. Yeah, this is enough. So I'm saying here two conditions. The class ID should be, for example, Rico. We didn't create that class ID yet, so I'm just explaining the logic here first. And the ones that they have the MAC address this or this MAC address, or so what I'm doing exactly here, I'm configuring with more details now. It's not anymore belonging to Rio, Tokyo, something like that. It's more about whole network where I'm gonna ID things here. So imagine this computer, I can take his network card and give an ID to that network card. And another computer, give an ID to that network card. And another computer will give an ID, so it's the same. Let's say my ID is Hamza here. Okay. Or I can choose based on whatever MAC addresses, right? So I can add several MAC addresses also. So I will have another layer of filtering again. And after I can take scope options and configure them just to those guys, the ones that they are conserved by the ID. That's it. Right? So it's not everybody that's going to take them on that scope or that server. Now, the scope options are based on class ID options or user ID options or vendor options or whatever options that I can create here, okay, that I can use. And after, if I click next, you see now I have two conditions. If I click next, you see that he's giving me all the scope options now. All right, now I can choose for those guys, the guys who are going to met those conditions, I'm going to give them a special one. 192.168, for example, 101. Okay, sorry. And give them, for example, a special DNS. So those guys will work with a different DNS than the others in the scope. And those options will override the server option, and they will override the scope option. Okay, guys. For example, if I create new policy, well, first of all, I need to go to. Gosh. Define user class. See, and I will add a new one. And here, I will take, for example, the class Hamza, right? So it's a new class that I will create. You must enter the name. Yeah, name displayed is Hamza, of course. Forget it. Here we go. Now I created my new class, right? And close. And I will say that, okay, in the policy, new policy, let's say this one is a user class ID. And I will click next, add. So I'm going to put my condition now based on user class. And you see that Hamza is available. Right? So if any adapter have a user class as Hamza, add. All right, so I will put one condition next. So you're going to give him this instead of any other thing. Let's say here the 003 will be 10 200 instead. And the DNS will be, of course, the addresses all will be wrong here, but it's just to show you. I'm going to take 100.0.0.1, something like that. And of course, he will tell me that this DNS doesn't exist. Okay. Next. Here you go. So I have class based on Hamza and finished. And those options now, so the options that I just put in here, see, I can always come and change the stuff, right? I can change them. I have a DNS, whatever here, so I can change again, add more conditions if I want to modify the policy. But this policy is gonna override whatever is here. If there is a conflict with something that is configured here, they're gonna override everything. Okay, I will let this one so I can stay in my domain, but let's add a new adapter. Here we go, new adapter, add. And I will put the same adapter here in. Yeah, so this one is in Rio, right? Okay, let's take Rio here. So we're gonna release a new. I will be connected to Rio from this one. And the second adapter will be in Tokyo. I don't know what happened here. IP config. You see that the Rio took an IP and the Tokyo took an IP from Tokyo, right? So now I'm like this. Just to show you demonstration about. So now I'm like this, right? So I have connection here and I have connection here. I took an IP from DHCP here and took the IP from DHCP here. But it's not the purpose, not what I'm doing. What I want to do is, so I'm gonna change the name of the interface first, the other one. Or I don't know which one is which one. I need to see it here. So Ethernet is the one that is in Rio and Ethernet 2 is Tokyo. Okay, so let's say this one is Tokyo and this one is Rio. All right. Now, Tokyo here, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use this command. ipconfig set class ID and I will give class name. Remember the class name, we already set it to to the whatever what I said. Hamza, yeah, Hamza, I forgot. Okay, so here we're gonna tape it ipconfig. ipconfig set class ID to the interface Tokyo, we named it, right? Tokyo. And Hamza. Whoops, what is happening here? Maybe we don't need those things. Nope, still I'm missing something. Just maybe typo in the address. Set class ID. Yeah, this is what I did. Set class ID. Set class ID, not sec. Sorry. Yeah, I'm missing just a little typo here. Set class ID Hamza. It's taking too long again. Successfully set. I can check that by saying here, for example, if I remember, right, show class ID. Well, there are no. No, you're wrong. ipconfig. I mean, maybe something is glitched in the ECMP here, but ipconfig/all. We should be able to see it from here, I guess, somewhere. Here you go. You see now we have class ID Hamza in this interface Tokyo, right? And we have the class ID also configured as the I can enable the policies, right? So I will right click, enable, refresh. See, they are activated. I can deactivate policies or activate them. I can set a vendor class also and configure a vendor class in computers. And this one, we're gonna release and renew. So it's kind of having another filter on our material. It's not just scoops now. We can give IDs to some specific equipment in our. What if our DHCP we have a lot of equipments, and we have some equipments of them. We need to configure them with specific things different than the others, but they are in the same scope, right? But those ones should be have another layer of filtering, and of course we can filter on those ID and stuff. He took 12. Where's my, which one is which one? Slash all. And what I did here, I don't remember. Property option. So the condition is class, user class ID. All right. And I can choose the least duration different just for those guys also. Here, there's another option. And edit identifier really agent. I can do it on the really agent information. Yeah, so I choose class equal to Hamza. I think I missed the so I'm gonna change it again because I don't see the real IP that I put in here. 200 should be 200. The default got right here, but I didn't take it. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna delete it again, this class ID Tokyo. So I will put nothing back. So ifig config/all, you see that class ID gone. And I will do the right one here. It's not Hamza, it's Hamza capital here, as you can see. So class ID that I created. Sorry here, right? It's Hamza. And I hope that it's gonna work. All right, so let's disable policies and enable policies again. Refresh. Okay, so let's IP config/all to see that the ID is here. Now we're gonna release and renew. Hopefully it's gonna work, I guess. Should. And renew. So one more time here, we have several options is for all the scoops. So it's going to replace anything that is missing in any scope option for several scoops at the same time. Like I did here, you see that DNS 7006 is taken from the class ID, you see it? User class ID, and the router is from user class ID here, completely different one. Sorry guys, I'm getting back to you. One All right, sorry about that, because I have a delivery and I know that these guys are the delivery ones, so I had to take it because they are almost here. They told me in 5 minutes you're gonna be at home, so in 5 minutes I'm gonna let you for 10 minutes or something, and we're gonna come back to the class after. All right, so you can see that I configured here the 003 for class ID that's gonna override all the others. The ones that they have the class ID mentioned in there. So you see now it's working. I got the default gateway, the one that is in the class ID 200. He didn't take in Tokyo. He didn't take the regular 003. So I just missed the .h. Sorry about that. I put it lowercase instead of. So here it was capital and here it was lowercase. So it was different class, of course. It's a case sensitive. Be careful. But as you can see now, if I do /all, the Rio is normal, right? So he's taken from his scoop from Rio. But this one have a class ID Hamza. So they think that I did in the policy, they override all the rest that I'm having in my scope. Okay. So as you can see here, even the DNS is completely wrong. He took the one of the scope 100.0.0.1, the wrong one. I don't have even this DNS. But just to give you a demonstration for what this class ID stuff work and how they work and what override what, right? So it's very important to understand what override what exactly in there. And yeah, so let's keep going. We're gonna do other thing now. It's how we can split a scoop between two DHCP servers. Okay, and we're gonna do also the failover, and we'll be good with it. But once the delivery guys, they're gonna just come. I'm gonna take 5 minutes, guys, just to sign the stuff and get the package. It's a big package from IKEA, so it's gonna take a little time, right? Few minutes. I mean, once I get the package, I will get back to you quickly. All right. So here, what is the failover? Did you get it? How this ID stuff work? It's something new, completely new that we didn't see on block one, right? Any question about this ID? So we can create one more time here. You see, when I go to IPv4, I can create a define class ID or define user ID. This is how we create a class ID here. You just add and give it a name. For example, whatever. Printers recall, something like that. Right. And I can type here recall. So I can go to my network interface of the printers RICO and give them this ID RICO, and I will be able to all point them to, for example, a specific DNS or a specific router or a specific whatever is in the scope option. I can overwrite whatever is their scope here. Okay, and the idea behind, you see that what is magnificent about these IDs. You see, even this one, he's taking those things from the class ID, right? So I can configure with the same thing many different scopes at the same time. The only thing I need is just to assign that ID to whatever interface I want to he belonged to. So even from different ones, you see that this one he kept his DNS in Rio. Sorry, here he kept his real DNS and he kept his real default gateway, because the interface Rio doesn't have the ID here of Hamza. Okay, so he just took the regular things in the scope. Okay. And this one took the regular things in the scope, but since there is the ID Hamza, so in his scope also he took the ID ones, right? The ones that they show in the ID. So he this one overrided this one. See, this one is the one that is configured in server option. So this one overrided this one, and this one overrided this one. And this is why here I have in Tokyo, where is it? In Rio, sorry. Not in Rio, in Tokyo, right? So did I deleted it, that one? Here is here. He took 200 instead of 100. So the 200 here, 003, 200 overrided 100 because it belonged to the class ID. So it overrided the scope option. And the DNS fake one, completely fake one, overrided the real one here, because the class ID of the interface is Hamza and it matched the class ID Hamza that I created in the policy here. Okay, the other one didn't care about those things, so they didn't override it because the adapter don't belong to the class, so they took the regular one. But once you configure something, it will be available in all the scopes. The only thing you need, if you want to override the ID in any scope options, that they are in that scope, because it will be available everywhere. The only thing you need is to assign an ID to that interface. Of course, to be able to go back, you saw me how I deleted it first. So set class ID, and we'll just put it empty here and hit enter, and I will delete the class ID, and it will go back to the regular normal information. So there is no more class ID anymore in there. All right. Now, if I release renew, he's gonna take the real ones. He will not take the class ID ones anymore. Taking forever here. All right, renew. Right, it's gonna take again forever. But you're gonna see now he's gonna ignore the 200 and the fake DNS because I just removed the class ID and went back to the normal. There is no class ID at all. Yeah. All right, whatever. You got the idea behind, right? So if you have a question, please ask your questions. Now, the next thing that we're gonna do the split scoop. For splitting scoop, we need to have two DHCP. So split scoop configure a similar DHCP scoop on each DHCP server, each with the same pool of address, but different exclusion, right? So we'll play it over the exclusions. How are we going to do that? Like, for example, imagine that I have two DHCP servers, right? And I will have in the first one, the scoop 10.0.0.0 slash 24. Right, so this one goes from 10.0.0.1 till 10.0.0.254, right? And I have a DHCP configured with this scoop. So this is DHCP1, and I will have DHCP2 that he will have exactly 10.0.0.0/24, and he will have the range of 10.0.0.1. He goes till 10.0.0.254. So if I let these two DHCP both working in the same network, I can have conflict, right? So this one can distribute the one, and this one can distribute the one also to another machine. Okay, so I can have a big conflict here, a problem. So what split scoop do? It's kind of load balancing first. So it's not everybody gonna work with this machine. Imagine that I have large scoops and a lot of computers, so I can load balance between the two computers here, or even more. And what I can do, I can split it on half, this scoop. So he's gonna exist here and exist here. But this one, the exclusion, will be from 150, so 10.0.0 150 till 10.0.0 254. So the only addresses available are from 1 till, so here the range change from 1 till 149, all right? And here the exclusion will be from 1 till 149. So the only address available, so this is my exclusions. So the only address available will be from 150 till 254. So my scoop will be this and this. And you see that they are complementary to build up all the whole range here. Okay, so there will be never a conflict, because this one is handling the 149 first addresses, and this one is handling the rest here, like 99 addresses here. No, even more. 103 something. 104. Right? So I have 104 addresses available and managed by DHCP2, and I have a 149 addresses managed by DHCP in the same scoop. It's the same. It's exactly the same. Okay. So how to configure that? Of course, we need two servers DHCP. We need two servers DHCP. So I'm going to take my PDC where I have a DHCP, and I don't need those guys anymore. So we will learn just how to configure here a scoop, split scoop. And we need a second server DHCP. I already have DC2 that is the second domain controller in my Origin X square D1 that we did together in last module. So he don't have a DHCP. Well, first of all, I need to add role, right? So I'm gonna manage add role and features. Next. So I have the address 10. We're gonna keep this on memory, and I'm gonna need a DHCP and install. And also, I will need to add the server here to be able to manage everything from one DHCP. So add another server to manage. Okay, so the delivery is here. Okay, guys, I'm gonna let you in a few seconds. I will just add the second server. This is something that we did in TBG, the last module, right? So I will just add 2 servers here to be able to manage 2 servers from here, right? See that I can manage 1 server. I will add DCX2 to manage both of them from the same machine, Active Directory, or I can import it from the file or in the DNS here, computer IP. So 172.24.110. Search for it. Here is it. So he detected it. I'm gonna add it and okay. And here you go. Now I have the two servers that I can configure from here. If I go to the DHCP, I will see both of them because I just installed the second role, one role here. Okay, so here you go, and I will complete, next, commit, close. There you go. Guys, we're going to stop here. Give me 10 minutes. I will come back to you. Take a little rest. I will notify you in case that keep your phone in there. Give me just 1 second. I'm going to open the door to the guys. I will come back, right? Sorry about that.